This is the Eric Erb Show Live. You can find me online at theericerbshow.com. Also, twitter.com/The Eric Erb Show. And on Spreaker, Spreaker.com/The Eric Erb Show Live. And on YouTube, youtube.com/The Eric Erb Show Live. I'm also on Anchor, anchor.fm/The Eric Erb Show. Okay, let's get into the news. I know it's been about 10 days. I've been away for about 10 days. I've been very busy, sidetracked, working on another project. So my apologies. First of all, let me just say that I've been away for a while, and I do apologize. I try to do these podcasts at least weekly, and I know it's been just about 10 days since my last podcast or so. So with all that said, like, share, subscribe. Let's get right into the news. Okay, CaraNaturalNews.com. That's where today's article is on the headlines. And the headlines read from naturalnews.com, Minneapolis City Council fast-tracks proposal to abolish police department, hopes to get initiative on the ballot in November. Okay, they want to, the Minneapolis, Minnesota, I've always said that they're a little different because this podcast is also going to YouTube. I have to watch my language now, so I don't want to get any strikes. I've been good so far. I don't want any strikes on YouTube. But people from Minnesotans, with all due respect, they've always been a little different. They are not red. They're not blue. I guess I would call them maybe a purple state. I don't even know if that's the best way to describe people from Minnesota. I don't know because I've never been to Minnesota. I've met friends along the way from Minnesota. I'm originally from Michigan, so I share the northern philosophy on a lot of things, but definitely are not from Minnesota. So they're an interesting bunch. So anyhow, let me get back to the article. Despite the fact Minneapolis is currently dealing with a violent crime wave that began after the engineered rioting in the city broke out in late May, the Minneapolis City Council composed of 13 council members, 12 Democrat, one Green, I guess one for the Green Party, fast-track plan to abolish the city's police department with a unanimous vote on Friday, June 26. The Minneapolis City Charter currently requires it to have a police department. The amendment changes the language so that the city can replace the Minneapolis Police Department with a department, according to the council, which would prioritize public health and holistic approach to crime reduction. The city council's vote pushes the amendment to the Minneapolis Charter Commission, who will then hold at least one public hearing to discuss the amendment before they make recommendations on July 8th. The amendment will be forwarded to the Council's Policy and Government Oversight Committee, who will then make their own recommendations on July 9th. The whole City Council, who can choose to ignore any suggestions made by the Commission or the Committee, will vote whether or not to put the amendment on the ballot box. Mayor Jacob Fry, he's the mayor, the wonderful, wonderful Democratic mayor that runs the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota down there. I'll bite my tongue here. Okay, let's continue. Jacob Fry, the mayor, expressed opposition to abolishing the MPD, or Minneapolis Police Department, could veto the city council's decision, but the council could hold to override that veto. They could choose to override the veto. Just like they can do that in Congress as well with the president. They can override a veto. The amendment has to make its way through all the legislated hurdles by August 21st if the city council wants Minneapolis vote on the proposal in November, where registered voters can choose to either pass or reject the amendment. Listen to the episode, and then this just simply explains the episode by Mike Adams from the Health Ranger. He talks about Black Lives Matter. He did a recording there. I'm not going to play that right now, but he did do a recording with Black Lives Matter. Police department to be replaced by community safety department. Under the terms proposed, the Minneapolis Police Department would be abolished in favor of a Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention. The mayor would be able to nominate the department head with someone with experience in community safety but not law enforcement, and the city council would have to approve it. This proposed department would also be larger than the current MPD, which has about 892 sworn officers and 175 non-sworn officers of June 1st. The Democratic Councilman Steve Fletcher, one of the architects of the proposal, said he still believes the new department would need a division for trained, licensed, armed peace officers to respond to violent calls, such as active shooter situations. The current language amendment makes room for a division to be possibly the head of the division would also be non-law enforcement trained head of the new department. So basically, what Minneapolis, Minnesota wants to do is they want to disband and replace the police department. Their exact words are abolished. Abolish the police department. That's the key word there. Okay. As we know, anybody with any common sense out there, and again, I say this with all due respect to everyone listening to this podcast, you really think because somebody got killed, and I'm not saying that George Floyd did not get killed, he got murdered, that you should end police departments all over the United States in every major city around. So this is the narrative that the Democratic left is pushing. Now, is that insanity or what? Just stop and pause a second, okay? Just think about that. Is that insanity? No law enforcement. If you're a thug, if you're a crime, if you're a thug committing a crime, what if you decide to abolish the police department? Well, you're walking down the street, and let's say you and your girlfriend, you're on a date, and you want to stop and get something, and somebody walks right up to you with a gun, holds a gun right at you. What are you going to do? I'm going to call 911. Well, 911 is no longer there. They have 911, but the police are not going to come and protect you anymore. Well, what if you come home later on that evening, you find that your apartment or your house is broken into? Who are you going to call? I don't know. I got to call 911. I'm going to call community service. Yeah, right. You're going to call community service. The police are licensed and trained professionals. However, and again, this is where I don't even have a word anymore to use for the Democratic left, the insanity of the far left wing, the idiocy. I can't. I just in my broad, vast range of vocabulary, I just can't even describe them anymore. It's just plain fucking idiots. That's all I can say. Just idiots. If you abolish the police, disobedience, disorder, crime, chaos, arson, you name the crime, we can go down. Rape, everything else is going to skyrocket. Okay? Just as I was saying a second ago, the police are there to serve and protect under the Constitution. That is their job, to serve and protect the people and their community. Are there bad police officers? Yes, like in the George Floyd case, absolutely. Are there bad police officers that need to be prosecuted, locked up in prison, and thrown away the key? Yes, there are. There are bad police officers. There's also, out of the very small percentage of bad police officers, the majority being about 95 to 96%, which is very, very high, are good, that will serve, protect, and do their duty as a police officer, as a law enforcement, to serve and protect the community he's sworn into when he gets hired by whatever police department he's hired here in the United States. So this idea, this ideology, this idea, this crazy left-wing lunatic insanity of let's just do in every major city. I would stop and I would pause and I would say, how's that crap going? How's that shit going up there in Seattle, Washington, downtown, where you're letting the fucking gang, you're letting the inmates run the asylum there? How's that going on? Last I heard there was like three deaths or 4 deaths there in the community, and they try to call 911. Nobody will respond. No ambulance, no emergency service, no fire and rescue, no law enforcement, because the mayor has disbanded all them up there in the wonderful, great city of Seattle, Washington State. Because these liberal mayors, these liberal governors have their marching orders from the DNC, and they have their marching orders from George Soros and all these other left-wing fanatic lunatics that absolutely, positively hate, and I repeat, hate the United States of America and the people that lives in the United States. They all want to see us gone. Okay? I can't get any more clearer than that. George Soros will stop at nothing. I think he's 88 years old here, or 85 years old. He's very, very old now. That lunatic will stop at nothing and spend billions of dollars to keep Black Lives Matter going, keep Antifa going, bought and paid for, to keep this shit going. Why Trump is still in office of the president. That's the bottom line. And if this podcast would ever get out, not that it would, but if it would ever get out, if people in the Trump administration would open up their ears and open up their eyes, and they've got to pull the fucking lead out of their ass, and they got to move, and they got to move quickly, because the deep state is going from one chaos, pre-planned chaos, pandemic, to another chaos. We're going to go right back to the pandemic, which that's what this is all about. It's all about removing Trump from office. See, Trump's Attorney General, Bill Barr is a good man, okay? But Bill Barr operates under the law, and the law, like anything else, has many tentacles, many fingers, but you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. If you do not do that, then therefore in the court of law before a judge, your case could get thrown out and dismissed for being irrelevant, or for whatever reason. You didn't do your homework, you didn't do your proper investigation, you don't have all the evidence. That's the key word right there, evidence. You have to have evidence, and the burden of proof still, in a case like this, even with Trump, when they're prosecuting these SOBs, you have to have evidence, hardcore, non-disputable evidence. Then, if you're in a federal court, you need to hope and pray that the judge is neutral, because if the judge is democratic in any way, shape, or form, you're probably going to lose. 99% of the time, they're going to throw the case out. So that's just a little bit of a background to just give you folks an idea of what the hell is really going on here. They'll stop at nothing. The deep state will stop at nothing to get rid of Trump as soon as possible. And again, I like President Trump and Bill Barr, but they need to move their fucking ass faster, because the deep state's not waiting. The deep state has their pedal to the metal and the hammer down, and they're going to bring one chaos after one pandemic after another riot and chaos and BLM and Antifa, more fucking riots, more chaos, then another pandemic, COVID-19. Number 2 is already up and running, and it's going crazy here in Florida and all over, about 6 or 8 states right now, going absolutely crazy and getting worse. Of course, a lot from the media. Media doesn't help. They just, the media is bought and paid for by Soros and company anyway. There's about, I believe, last I heard is either 15 or 16 of the wealthiest people in the world that own these media companies and have stock and major stockholders and share in these media companies. So they control what the narrative is. They control what's being said. And if they go up there and they say, okay, more COVID, more COVID, more COVID, you can say, well, I don't want to do that. They'll say, well, kiss your ass goodbye. There goes your $1 million job as anchor. You're gone. That's how this works. You either play ball. If you don't play ball, your ass is on the road and on unemployment. And right now, I can tell you, unemployment's not very good. All right, let's get back into the article here. I'm going to just finish the article. The City Council is set to fight mayor who opposes police abolition during one demonstration, in a major majority, of the City Council, including 5 architects of the amendment, pledged in front of demonstrators to abolish the MPD on June 6. When Mayor Fry, he's the Democratic mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, was asked to defund, he said no, and was promptly booed out of the protest. As a matter of fact, the mayor has consistently taken a stand against abolishing the police department, and he has voiced his concerns about the proposed amendment. Fry has been critical of the amendment's supposed lack of clarity and for its blurring of the previously clear lines of responsibility. And this goes on to say, the article goes on to say, for example, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin proposed slashing the Seattle's police budget by $20 million, tells to expect deeper cuts in the future. Will we still have police? If you vote for this, you are voting to abolish the police. Police departments are merely a cosmetic change. You add a bureaucratic layer, change the name to peace officer, give them a different uniform, asked Fry, who also said that it's unclear in the amendment who would demote or fire the police chief. And this is the police chief of Minnesota, the city's first black chief of police. So he's a black gentleman. His name is Madeira, Chief Madeira, down in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of the police department. Who's going to be the one to fire him? He's a black gentleman. Furthermore, Fry criticized the amendment diffuses responsibility, since the head of the new community department would have to answer to 14 people, 13 council members, a mayor, while the current chief of police only answers to 1 mayor. That's basically the article in a nutshell. It's insanity. It's crazy. And if you do not want your police department to be abolished, please like, share, subscribe on this podcast. Excuse me. I'm trying to get some common sense out there to people that essentially have no common sense. And it's absolutely insanity, just trying to get common sense out to people that have zero common sense. And they think of unicorns and different things like that. They're not even in reality. They're not even on the same planet. There's such a disconnect. They still have the communist dystopia of socialism on their mind, and they do not understand anything about reality. The harsh reality is, if you let criminals run around, they're going to rob, cheat, steal, murder, rape. They're going to kill you eventually. Okay? It's not safe for your place. It's not safe for your kids. And I want to just say, if you ever decide to have a house in Seattle, at least near the downtown area right now, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, you better look and see how much your house is going to cost today and how much it'll cost 30 days from now, 60 days, and 90 days, because the house is going to depreciate greatly if they're not already depreciating. And that's what people do not understand, and they just don't think about facts. And I always tell people that the common sense is almost gone in this country. We're destroying statues. We're destroying this. We're destroying that. All in the good of just saying, so we can say Black Lives Matter, so the black people don't feel oppressed. Well, I can tell you, it's not about that. It's not about destroying statues. It's not about destroying businesses, black businesses, white businesses. It's all pre-planned. It's a setup. And it's all bullshit. That's what it is. It is bullshit. And I'm just going to call it out what it is. It is bullshit. I've never stopped that. I always will continue to call things out as I see them. And is there racism in the United States? Yes, it is. But the first thing we have to do is talk about it. And the second thing we have to do is identify the problem, that there are the media and there are people like George Soros and the elites that do nothing but to divide us, whites against blacks, blacks against whites, and separate us so that we do nothing but fight all day long. And that's what we have to understand, is that there are other forces of evil that do not want us to get along, that want us to say, I hate the black man hates the white man, we hate each other, I hate you, you hate me. That's bullshit. First thing we got to do is get rid of the media. Second thing we got to do is find these elite people, charge these elite people with the destruction and the finance of Black Lives Matter, and Antifa and different groups like that. But it'd be hard. It'd be real hard, because they're layers up the food chain, and they make payments through the tree or through the system. And they don't want to be connected to financing these terrorist groups and stuff like that. But that's what they're doing. We got to stop these people. But that's what the elite's agendas are, is to divide and conquer. So we will forever be at each other's throat, and this will be non-ending for the rest of our lives, or until we kill each other off, whichever comes first. So that's what you have to identify. And once we get rid of those two things, the media and the elites, and don't let them divide and conquer us anymore with that attitude and with that system they're using, we would then finally start to be able to really get along and sit down and work our problems out. This is Eric Erb from The Eric Erb Show. You can find me online at theericerbshow.com, twitter.com/The Eric Erb Show. I'm on Anchor, anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm/The Eric Erb Show. Find me on Spreaker, spreaker.com/The Eric Erb Show Live. And, of course, on YouTube, youtube.com/The Eric Erb Show Live. This is Eric Erb from The Eric Erb Show. Be safe. Take care. God bless. Like, share, and subscribe the hell out of this podcast. This is Eric Erb from The Eric Erb Show. I'm out of here, signing out.